There is some construction going on outside, so I apologize if you hear like noises, construction noises. And then if you want, you can also drop everything. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about just my like bare bones everyday base routine. This is the routine I do if I'm in a hurry, if I don't know what else to do, if I need to do my makeup on the go. These are the products that I grab. So I'm gonna be going through the products. I'm also gonna be going through just some techniques and stuff like that. This is going to be a no powder base routine. I have pretty dry skin, so in the winter I don't like to cake on a lot of powder on my face because I think it just dries it out a little bit more, and I just like the look of sort of dewy, fresh skin. So we're just gonna jump straight into it. I'm gonna zoom you guys in a little bit closer, and yeah. All right, we are nice and up close and personal so you can see what I'm doing. I don't know where my headband is, so I'm just gonna pop my hair in a ponytail. To start off, I'm going to be using the Smashbox Primerizer. Right now, I just have the little travel size. They do have a full size as well. This is just a super basic hydrating primer, and I'm just going to put this all over my face when I'm in a hurry or when I just want to get her done, you know. I like to just use something super basic like this. I don't worry about using any pore filling or any illuminating primer. I just want to get my skin nice and hydrated and prepped for foundation. Next up, I'm going to be using the IT Cosmetics CC Cream. This is just it's a very natural coverage. I'd say it's about medium coverage foundation. Looks really natural. It's not like super glowy. It's not super matte either, which is what I like on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I like to be pretty glowy, but this is just really quick and easy, which I enjoy. Their shade range sucks. It's just really small. Like, this is the lightest shade and it's a little too dark for me, which you will see. But also some of the shades in the deeper ranges just have really bizarre undertones, so keep that in mind if you're thinking about picking this up. I would recommend going in store and taking a look at them. But this obviously isn't the only foundation you can use. You just kind of want something that is natural finish and is gonna blend easily into the skin. So what I like to do with this is I'll take one pump on the back of my hand, and then I like to mix in a pump of the primerizer as well. And then I will just take my finger and mix these together. All right, and then I do like to apply my foundation with a brush and then tap over it with a sponge. If I'm doing this on the go, I will just take my sponge because I don't want to deal with brushes, but I'll show you how I do it at home. When you're applying foundation with a brush, you want to really work the product into the brush. So I will really work the product in, and then I'll go to like a blank spot on my hand, or if you have a palette or something like that, kind of wipe off some of the product, the excess product, so it's really just kind of stuck in that brush. And then I'm gonna go on the face in just short little tapping motions. You wanna do kind of downward strokes. This will help it to not pick up on any dry spots. It will also help to prevent any streak marks. If you're doing real buffing motions or something like that, it can often leave streak marks. We are gonna smooth this over with a sponge anyway, but if you're just using a brush, this is how you do it. You want to use a brush that is quite dense as well. This is the e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. I wish it were just a little bit more dense actually, but it's pretty affordable, so it works. So you can see the shade is a little bit dark. Looks a little better now that we shared it out with primer, but I, on a day-to-day basis, don't really feel like mixing foundations, so we're just gonna roll with it. And that's about as much as I'm gonna put on today. Sometimes I will go in with a little bit of a second layer, but for today, this is it, man. Then next, I'm gonna take my beauty blender. You can use any sponge. I also really like the Real Techniques one and the Eco Tools one. And I'm just going to pat over that. This is going to remove any excess product. It's also just going to give a more natural finish. If you are struggling using a brush, try this method first before switching to just a brush, because it will kind of help you get the finish you want while still getting the coverage you can get with the brush. That being said, it is possible to get this kind of finish with a brush. It just usually takes a little bit longer and it's a little bit of a higher learning curve. All right, so like I said, we're not going to use any powder for this look. So what I have been using for kind of my contour slash bronzer is this. This is the Fenty Beauty Match Stick and it's in the shade Mocha. It's kind of a nice warm toned contour. A lot of people who are like around my skin tone prefer a more cool tone contour because it does create more of a shadow and it's going to give you more of a contoured effect. But I find that this does the job in terms of adding some dimension to the face. And I also just think it looks less sort of intense and sickly, and it just looks nice and pretty. And so I kind of prefer a more warmer toned contour for the day to day. To blend this out, I'm using a brush. This is the Pixi Full Cover Foundation brush. I really like this for getting in areas like around the nose, stuff like that, and also for contour. You know, I just realized we did not put on concealer. We'll do that after, it's fine. So basically with the contour, I'm just going to be, what I did was I applied it starting from my ear down about. That's a good way to measure where you want to put your contour for under the cheekbones. Just under that cheekbone area. And I'm going to be blending in upward motions and back motions. So you want to blend this way and also this way. This is going to prevent your contour from being dragged downward, and it's also going to help to fade it nicely so it'll be lighter this way and then darker this way. These, you don't really have to blend them too much. In fact, you want to make sure not to overblend them because if you blend too much, they will just kind of disappear. But if you are a beginner, they are pretty easy to work with and they just blend super easily. You don't have to spend a lot of time on them, which I really like as well. Going to take that all the way up into my lovely little widow's peak there. It's fantastic. There is some construction going on outside, so I apologize if you hear like noises, construction noises. So same thing with the hairline. I'm just pulling it back into the hairline. This is going to, again, create that nice fade, and it's also going to keep it from going too far in on the forehead. I like to go up around the perimeter of the face, one, because it does kind of shrink the forehead a little bit, but it also just looks a little bit more balanced. I think sometimes if you just have color on your cheek area, it looks a little bit off. So I like to kind of take it up around the face as well. And then if you want, you can also drop everything. You can also go in and tap over it with a sponge. This will help to blend it in as well. But that's about the level of kind of blending that you want to do. Still there, it's still pronounced. It's not in your face, you know? Lately, what I've been using for blush is the Milk Makeup Lip and Cheek Stick. This is in the shade Rally. It's a beautiful berry color. I also quite enjoy the Bite Beating Multi-Stick in the shade Creme Caramel. It's a nice peachy shade. I do find the Bite one is a little bit more punchy. It's got a little more pigment to it, so it really kind of packs a punch. The Milk one is a little bit more sheer. It's still definitely, the color still shows up, but it's just a little bit less like bam on the face. And I like this color quite a bit because it looks, on my skin tone, and it just makes me look like I'm a little bit flushed, like it's a little bit cold outside and my cheeks just got a little bit red, you know, that kind of vibe. It's also kind of a nice glowy, dewy type of look. Real sorry about those construction noises. What you gonna do? So what I like to do with this is I don't know why I use like this part of my wrist, but you could do the back of your hand or whatever, but I'll just like rub some on my wrist there. You can put this directly on the face. I've done it before, especially if I'm in a hurry, and it looks fine, but I just like this method a little bit better. And then I take a beauty blender. What are you doing out there? I'm just going to tap into the product. That's about how much should be left. And then I'm just gonna do a little smile, a little fake smile. boop, right on the apples of the cheeks. And then I'm going to bring it upward to blend in with that contour. And then I'm just going to switch to a different side of the Beauty Blender just to tap in the product. See how just like naturally flushed this just makes you look? It's like, like I just went for a run, or it's a little chilly outside and, you know, just got a little bit flushed and blushing. Then I just put a little more product on my wrist here and do the same thing on the other side. Sometimes when you don't use powder, you'll get little specks of mascara or whatever. I just take a spoolie, scrape them off, and then I'll go back in with my sponge and tap over that area. If you're doing a more intense eye look, you want to do your eyes first. Typically with a no powder routine, because otherwise any fallout or anything will just really stick down to the foundation and it'll make it more difficult to remove. Now, concealer, which I completely forgot. Oh, dropping things again. This is the Born This Way Super Coverage Concealer. I think it's like multi-use sculpting concealer or something. Again, typically do this before all of this, but I somehow forgot today. So basically what I do when I take this out of the tube, there's a lot of product on here. I wipe most of it off. I'm just going to do a little dab. It's going to be extra careful since we already have our blush on and everything. I'm going to do a little dab on the kind of darkest points of my eye bags. And then I like to do just a smidge around the nose as well. I'm going to take my same sponge and I'm going to do careful little tapping motions. Just going to bring that up onto the cheekbone. Despite having super dark under eyes, I don't like to kick on the concealer because then it looks really heavy under there. Plus I find this one gives you enough coverage that you don't have to use a whole lot of product. Typically that is what I like to do, is I'll use a more sheer or natural foundation and then I'll go in with a little bit of a more intense coverage concealer. This is the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek in Lunch Money. It's a beautiful sort of cream to powder highlight. The other one I really like is the Milk Makeup Holographic Stick in Mars. It's a really pretty, just sort of dewy looking highlight. If I'm going for like a super natural look, I'll go in with the Milk one because it just looks like sort of a wet, glossy look on the skin, which I really like. Today I kind of want to do like something that looks like a little bit of a highlight, so we're going to go in with the ColourPop one. The way I like to apply this is to actually just take my sponge into the product, get a little bit on here. I know this is not super sanitary, but I only use this one on myself, so it's okay. And then I'm going to just tap that onto the cheekbones. I find this gives the most natural like look to the skin and makes it to not emphasize any texture or anything like that. So it's just a really nice sort of beautiful glow from within. And then I'm going to take the side of my sponge that I had the blush on and I'm just going to tap over it just to blend everything together. And you can build this up too if you want a more intense look. I used to be really into the like super intense highlighters, but now I'm liking something like this, which is still intense, but it's more just like really dewy and radiant. All right, and this is pretty much the base. It's just super natural, perfect for every day, nice and dewy, but not like sweaty looking, and yeah, I'm into it. And then to set the face, I'm going to use the Flower Beauty Seal the Deal Long Lasting Setting Spray. Sometimes I'll do a dewy setting spray and then this, but today we're just gonna go in with this guy. This is leaking for one. This is the closest thing I found at the drugstore to the Urban Decay All Nighter. This is the only other setting spray I found that I do find makes a big difference in how the foundation wears throughout the day. Still think Urban Decay is like a little bit better, but this is good if you're on a budget. Also, this one has like a super nice fine mister, which is really nice. I think I'm going to pick up a few of these for clients because it's just like a relaxing type mist. It doesn't feel like something is like spitting at you. So what I'm going to do first is go in and tap under my eyes where I get little creases. and make sure it's all like smoothed out before I set the face. And then I'm just gonna spray it. So I'm gonna let that sink in a little bit, and then when it's almost dry, I'm just going to tap it into the skin. This one is a pretty fine mister, so I don't really have to worry about little droplets or anything, but if you have one that does kind of spit at you, this is a good method to kind of get it to sink into the skin more nicely. That was not good grabber. And then my little trick for making certain areas last longer is I'm going to actually spray my sponge with this, and I'm going to kind of tap it off, let it sink in a little bit, and then I'm going to tap this under the eyes. You want to make sure it's not too wet or else you'll remove a lot of the product. Like, it was a little bit too wet, but that's okay. I'm going to tap this around the nose. And then I'm going to tap over areas where I get little smile lines. This I find really helps to set those areas without having to use a powder, and help them to not crease and all of that throughout the day. This foundation I do find wears pretty well. It does sink into my smile lines occasionally, but what I find what happens mostly with this one is it just sort of fades into the skin, which I like. I just look a little bit less done up at the end of the day instead of it like creasing, moving around, stuff like that, like sometimes can happen, especially if you use a powder or something like that. If I was wanting to use like a powder, bronzer, or whatever, I will set just this area of my face, but this is basically what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I'm probably just gonna like pop on some mascara and a lip, and then I will be right back. All right, and we are back. This is basically just the makeup that I do like every single day when I need to get ready, like super quick. I just need to throw a little bit on, like a no makeup, if you will. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a little something. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. I'm always down to answer any questions that you have about makeup related things. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.